Coming up on No Pulp, praise the Lord, week 2 was not a dud. Plenty of great, maybe some mediocre matchups on paper, but ended up being some upsets. We'll tell you about all the results.
And we're throwing darts at a board today. You're going to want to see what that's about. Maybe proverbial darts, maybe proverbial board, but it's still interesting, so please, trust me.
He also goes against Gino Antimarino in the juicer. That's going to be must-see TV. The whole episode of this episode of No Pulp is going to be, which starts right now.
The best performance, I think, all year from Ohio State against Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
They just don't lose at the shoe.
I love what Juju Watkins has done for the sport of basketball.
To stay alive, can they hook 'em? Touchdown!
They have the most prolific goal scorer of all time.
He will fire.
Well, he's the guy.
I'm the guy.
Ian's the guy today.
Experience is what matters when it comes to Omaha.
Valuable. You know the
Hold
number
on.
of everything for a
Hold
team.
on.
First time, how are we feeling, Jake?
I'm excited to win the juicer.
Couple of familiar voices on that intro. Spoiler, it's both of us. Hudson, Ridley, and Max Gifford with you for another episode of No Pulp. Hudson, great to be with you, first of all.
This is awesome. This is fantastic.
Great, and it was another great weekend of college football that we got to
so
witness.
good.
Started off with a stunner down in the Sunshine State. USF with a walk-off field goal over number 13 Florida. Boy, oh boy, Florida was favored in 18 by this game, and they didn't even score 18.
Which is really stupid, the fact that Florida was ever going to be favored 18. I think the worst part about that is the fact that USF was needed to have at least a little bit more in their favor towards the spread because they are a good team coming in. You saw them week 1 against Boise State. They dominated a team that was in the college football playoff last year. They have a legit defense. I really like USF. That is completely besides the point. On the other side, though, oh my goodness, this is bad for Billy Napier. I don't know if you saw afterwards, after the game too. I mean, he was completely nonchalant.
He was booed off the field.
Which is completely fair. He should have been gone years ago.
Well, I mean, this team is just his team is so undisciplined. 11 penalties for 103 yards in that contest. That included one of their players spitting on the opposing player's face.
You can't do that.
28 yards of penalties in the final drive as well that ultimately ended up in the USF walk-off field goal. And flat out, Byron Brown was the better quarterback this game.
I feel like spitting on someone is one of the top 5 worst things you can do on a football field. I'm going to think about that throughout this show, and maybe I'll come back to you later on what that is.
Just because you see Jalen Carter do it on TV doesn't mean that you should also do it.
Precisely, and I think this is part of the problem too with University of Florida is they don't have enough of a rein on their program in terms of committing mistakes like that and having their guys act out. I mean, just years ago, Marco Wilson did a similar thing, throwing the shoe against LSU. This seems to happen time and time and again against Florida, and I just do not see a way that Billy Napier will correct this, especially after today.
USF was just the 4th team since the 1930s to have wins over ranked opponents in their first 2 games while being unranked. So pretty impressive for the Bulls. Not so impressive for Billy Napier.
He's 20-20, by the way. Look at that. He is 20-20 as the head coach of Florida, and you get to beat up on tomato cans when you're in Florida. They played LIU last week. LIU. Can you tell me one thing about LIU?
They're the Sharks, I know that.
That is true. That's one thing about LIU, so I do stand corrected. But my goodness, I mean, he's been so weak, and the one thing they brought him in to do was recruit, and he's been okay at that. Every single other aspect of what he's had to do has been off us. So Billy Napier truly on the hot seat, especially after that game. My personal hot seat includes one of the coaches from this game. I'll let you guess which side. It's Oklahoma and Michigan. The Build #1 game of the week coming into this week. College game day was there. Every festivity surrounding this game was big time. The quarterback matchup was huge, and in the end, Oklahoma takes down Michigan in a game where we saw full frustration from the Wolverines.
Right, we really did, and I really hope that the coach you were talking about was Sharon Moore from Michigan. Because I'm also irate with Sharon Moore. The fact that he ended up squeaking out, 8 wins last year with
insane.
0 offense at all. Now you have this shiny #1 prospect in Bryce Underwood, and you just don't let him be creative at all.
He won't throw the ball.
He won't let him open up the offense one bit.
I mean, it frustrates me to no end. They're paying $10 million for Bryce Young. Do you know what you, or rather Bryce Underwood, do you know what you could do with $10 million? I can't even comprehend what I would buy with $10 million, but let me tell you what, it would not be Bryce Underwood to not throw any passes past the line of scrimmage. It frustrates me what they do with this Michigan team because they could be so good and they get in their own way. The fact that they won a national championship a few years ago, I know it's Harbaugh, but even then, it's a miracle. 9 completed passes from Underwood. 9 for 24. That's disgusting.
Look, he just turned 18 a week ago, so maybe we give him a little bit of slack.
It's not his fault.
It's not his fault at all. But on the Oklahoma side, John Mateer, dare I say, he looks like maybe a little Baker Mayfield 2.0 right now with the Sooners.
I think he does. I mean, he uses his legs pretty well. So many risky throws.
He just has a swagger to him, though. And he does it on both sides. He's running and he's throwing.
And he's gambling. And he's gambling. John Mateer is gambling. I think the other important thing about him is, too, he has a lot more experience than Bryce Underwood in this game, and you really can't devalue what he did at Washington State, and so you knew this was coming. I think the fact that he did that and used his legs himself without the help of Jaden Ott in that game, a top-tier back transfer from Cal, I really liked what he did. Some of the throws are a bit risky.
Sooners have had a skid of some poor seasons in a row, and you can say that similarly for Mississippi State, but they had an absolute instant classic down in cowbell country against number 12 Arizona State. The Bulldogs come out victorious 24-20. This was a wild game from the start. This had highs, this had lows. You really kind of had no idea which way this would steer, especially with how Mississippi State started this ball game.
I mean, I thought I knew which way this game was going to steer when Mississippi State got off to a 17-0 start. Then all of a sudden, Arizona State storms right back, takes the lead. Mississippi State walk-off touchdown. They storm the field. If you told Mississippi State fans 10 years ago they'd be storming the field after beating Arizona State, I think they'd probably cry. But the state of this program has been so awful that this is a massive win. This saved Jeff Lebby's job. I guarantee it saved Jeff Lebby's job. And it also showed how much of a fraud Arizona State is.
I was just going to say, does that open up the floodgates of should Arizona State have been number 12
No,
in the country?
not at
because
all.
their run defense was pretty amazing, only holding Mississippi State to just 66, but they allowed a 47, 48, and a 58-yard touchdown. The last one being the walk-off that was the 58-yarder.
I think for Mississippi State at this point, you don't really like where the program is, but this is a feel-good moment out of nowhere. Arizona State, I would be very worried because they're 1-1 right now, but that one was a weak win over Northern Arizona, where at the end of it, there was admittances that Arizona State got out-coached in that game by Northern Arizona. So Arizona should be very, very worried, rather Arizona State. Mississippi State, though, shout out to Mississippi State baseball bus driver Everett Kennard, who gave me ribs over the summer. That win was for you. Very impressive stuff by the Bulldogs.
Shout out Chatham angler Duke Stone
Shout out
as
the
well
A's.
for
Shout
the
out the
Mississippi
A's.
State Bulldogs. We're not talking college baseball just yet, but still plenty more of college football to get to on No Pulp. It's juicer time. It's Hudson Ridley. It's Gino Antimarino. Blood may be shed. We'll tell you about it when we return. Welcome back to No Pulp, where the pulp is none and the fun is a lot. And now the fun is +1. Gino Antimarino, Hudson Ridley, and
Got
Max
Dr.
Gifford.
Seuss here.
Heat
over
there, you
my
hear
I
that?
rhyme anytime. I'm a poet, and I didn't even know it. What do you know about that? All right, well, we'll take the heat off of me. You probably don't need me to tell you it's the juicer. I'm blocking it right now. But It's one of the best segments we do here on No Pulp. I'm going to throw out some statements and some questions relating to college football this past week. You guys are going to each give me an answer. I'll award points based on the question that it is. We'll start here with you, Mr. Antimarino.
All right, let's do it.
Most noteworthy Week 2 result in college football, what was it?
Well, you guys kicked off the show with it, and that's USF taking down number 13 Florida in Gainesville. I mean, that is just unheard of because the Gators 23-8 in the last 5 years at home, and USF going down in Florida and taking care of business. You know what they say, you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Look at that catch right there. And obviously USF is off to a fantastic start. The only team so far in college to take down 2 ranked teams. It's only week 2, and USF right now ahead of Alabama in the AP poll. Can you believe that?
The AP poll.
Interesting. Your response?
Look,
Love the AP poll.
I expected this to happen. I expected USF to win because USF is a great team and Florida is weak. Now, let me tell you what I did not expect. Mississippi State last year lost to Toledo. If you ask anybody who goes to school at Arizona State, I guarantee you they couldn't point to Toledo on a map, alrighty? This is how bad the program had gotten from an SEC school last year. And then they beat a college football playoff team at home. Give me Mississippi State over Arizona State as the biggest result of the week. It was incredible. It had everything you could possibly want. Deep bombs, the suspense, a long touchdown to end it, and a field storming where they were smoking cigars after the game. This is everything college football should be. This game was fantastic and highly notable.
That's a great point you mentioned, Hudson, but Mississippi State at home, USF did it on the road.
All right, well, ultimately, my opinion is the one that matters, and these are both great games. We touched on them all. When I break down the bare bones of it, one of these is an SEC team beating a Big 12 team. The other one is an AAC team beating an SEC team. So for that, he's pointing the arrow, and he's getting point number one for Gino Antimarino.
I think that's my first point ever on the juicer.
Congratulations. Well, you have a chance for 2 more here on question number 2. For question 2, the question, who is the best breakout individual performance in week 2?
You had a key word there, breakout, and I got to go with Aiden Childs of Michigan State. I'm just going to read the numbers because they jump off at the page at you. 4 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, 231 yards through the air, 65% completion, and he did that in a 42-40 double OT win against Boston College. He's putting those dimes through I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, he is just putting these right on the money. Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week, Davey O'Brien, grade 8 performance of the week. I mean, Aiden Childs had himself a standout performance this week. I was looking for some. Look, he comes out with all these sayings, and I'm trying to match that.
Dimes like a gumball machine, maybe?
That's exactly what I was looking for.
Camels through the eye of a needle. Pretty interesting.
Yeah,
you said earlier that the first point on the juicer, that's pretty interesting. That was definitely your last point because I have Sawyer Robertson as the best breakout performance of this week, who played in the game of the week and then proceeded to throw for 440 yards, 4 touchdowns against SMU, a college football playoff team from a year ago, and a rival to beat the Mustangs on the road in double overtime. Sawyer Robertson had the best individual performance of the week, and it is not even close. To show up to SMU, a program that is really on the rise, and take all the wind out of their sails, really doing it by himself, I mean, that was an incredible performance.
I disagree. The question is, who had the best breakout performance?
That's Boston
CBS
College.
Sports.
All right. I'm stepping in. I'm stepping
best QB in the Big Ten. 11th.
Gino, let me talk.
Order.
Go ahead.
Both 2 very similar results. Both double overtime wins. Both guys throwing for 4 touchdowns. The difference is one of those guys has never thrown for 4 touchdowns, and that was Aiden Childs. So Gino, he's gotten 2 more points, and he's up 3-0 in the juicer. A chance to sweep on this one with question 3. Hudson, we go to you on this one. What group of 5 school is most poised to make the college football playoff?
I mean, he was touting them earlier. USF looks incredible right now. They have a schedule that after the next game they play is a cakewalk, and that next game is a chance to add to their schedule. They play Miami, a team that in the past they've had a little bit of success against, but this year it's different because they were only a rushing team for quite some time. They have added in the past with Byron Brown, and they look fantastic. Right now, their defense is only letting up 11 points per game. That is against a former college football playoff team in week 1, and then Florida on the road in week 2. This defense has some dogs. John Gruden even loves this team. USF is really the only team, genuinely, the only team that I could see in the college football playoff from the group of 5 right now.
He likes the Bulls. Who do you like?
I'm going to go with the green wave of Tulane. And, I think obviously they're off to a 2-0 start. They took down your beloved Northwestern in week 1.
Oh, yeah, big deal.
Obviously, this is a team that, listen, I'm going to be honest. South Florida, that's a good pick. But Tulane right now, Jake Retzlaff, the transfer from BYU, having a little bit of a shaky start, but he can bounce back against Duke and Ole Miss. Obviously, 2 teams that can really put Tulane on the map. When you're talking about teams that can potentially make the postseason, well, these are 2 teams coming up that they can really prove themselves and prove their worth, just like how South Florida has done already.
I'll tell you what, Hudson, Gino did his homework because he knows that I love the Tulane Green Wave. But it would also be contradictory of me to say that USF isn't making the college football playoff because I just raved about him the whole last block. So we've got bonus round here on the Juicer. Not at a 3-3. Who's the coach that's under the most pressure? Hudson, we go to you.
Billy Napier, 100% under the most pressure right now. His own players from years prior tweeting for him to be fired right now. He needs to go. He's been on the hot seat for quite some time. He has not proven himself at all.
I'm going with Kalen DeBoer of Alabama. Listen, someone in Tuscaloosa said if I win the $1.8 billion Powerball, I'm going to take the money, and first thing I'm going to do is buy out DeBoer. That's how you know Tuscaloosa is in a bad spot right now.
Oh, jeez. These are both great answers because now I'm feeling the pressure. But one of these guys is one loss away from looking for a job on LinkedIn, and it's Billy Napier. Hudson Ridley, the winner in the Juicer.
This is absurd.
Hard to beat.
This is absurd.
Sweet. He's channeling a little Max Gifford in him right now. Both of them have crumpled their papers, but Hudson and I still have more coverage to come on Noel Pulp. We're throwing darts. Hudson, catch it. Oh, he caught it. We'll tell you about that more.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back into our CitrusTV studios. That's Max Gifford. I'm Hudson Ridley. That's a dartboard right here. So you know what that means. We're going to give you our predictions and whether or not college football teams are going to stick in title contender, playoff team, in the hunt, and not a threat. Max, I want you to grab your first dart off the board there. It's really sticky right now. I want you to tell me Clemson. Where do they fall on your board?
Well, a couple weeks ago, I might have said, oh, they're coming right around a bullseye, but now they're all the way out here. They are not a threat to me anymore. And to be honest, my main concern with the Tigers coming into this campaign was their defense. And the defense has been the one thing that has actually been okay for the Tigers. It's been the offense that has been absolutely abysmal. They're outside the top 100 right now in scoring offense, total offense, rushing offense, time of possession, and total first downs.
That's not good numbers.
For a team that came into the nation, that came into the season top 4 in the country, and putting up stats like that, I understand one of those was against a really good LSU team, but against Troy, Cade Klubnik didn't have a touchdown until the second half in that game. It took him until the second half in that Troy game to get a touchdown, so that's why I have Clemson on the outside.
I'm throwing him just a shade inside right here. I'm taking my dart, putting them in the hunt. Actually, that's too far in. They're just on the edge of not being a threat, but I think I trust Cade Klubnik a little bit.
All right, so we've each given out our first darts, and now it's time to give out our second darts. Hudson,
Okay.
We'll go to you on this next one because we talked about the Big Ten a lot this show. We talked about it in our webisode 2. Tune in. But Illinois, number 9 in the nation right now. Where are you putting them?
This may be my Northwestern bias, but if I had a bullseye dartboard here, which I do, I'm keeping the dart right here. I'm not even throwing it near the board because they are absolutely
Okay, you still threw it.
They are absolutely not a threat in my opinion. They have to win out the games that are kind of 50-50 for them, and they also have to beat Ohio State. There's not a snowball's chance in some place that Illinois beats Ohio State. That's a trophy that they haven't had for like 60 plus years at this point, which they do have a rivalry trophy. They have to beat Ohio State, then they have to win the Big Ten. I don't see Illinois making it at all. Luke Altmaier, I'm fine with. Brett Bielema, actually, as a Northwestern fan, I don't even hate him, but I don't see this team coming together when it really matters towards the end.
I agree with you. I do think Luke Altmaier is a really good quarterback. I love the experience that Illinois has. That's why I'm putting them just a little bit more on the inside. I have them in the hunt purely because of that statement win against Duke on the road this past weekend, because there's not many tough opponents for Illinois after this. What's the hardest opponent? You have to play Ohio State.
Yeah, that's a pretty hard opponent, I'd say.
Yeah, but if you lose one game, the Indiana of last year, Kurt Cignetti, you just have to lose. If you lose one game, you can still get in the college football playoff.
I don't see them running the table. I really don't. And that's what they would have to do in order to make the college football playoff. Another team that we're going to take a look at, Florida State, our final team. Max, where do they lie on your dartboard?
A very similar team where a couple weeks ago, I might not have even taken a dart and thrown it. Why would I be talking about Florida State? They were unranked. But now, I have them all the way as a playoff team right now, which might sound a little bit shocking, but, I mean, they've really proved that they can score. And Mike Norvell has come back after not making it the CFP a couple seasons ago to only 2 wins last year, and he's just put on a show. How about 70 points in the last game between these two teams? They've just kind of hypnotized the entire world to forget about the fact that they only lost 2 games last season. Again, they don't have many tough games remaining. The hardest ones against Miami, who you're playing at home. And they already beat a pretty good Alabama team at home as well. So if you win the state championship, in a sense, in the state of Florida by beating the Gators and beating Miami, I don't see a world where Florida State is not in the college football playoff.
I need just a moment of your time. Let me tell you something here.
We don't have that much, but
what Florida State has done right now has me fired up about the Seminoles. Let me tell you something. Every time Mike Norvell has had a team that he's liked, he's done well. Last year, his team sucked, and he was awful, right? But he restocked, and he got a guy that we all forgot about, Thomas Castellanos. Why would anybody want him? He couldn't even play at BC. And then over the summer, he's talking about, we're going to beat Alabama week 1. And then he backed it up and dominated. The very following week, they hung 77 on Texas A&M Commerce, but that's still an impressive.
Still good scoring.
77 is a lot of points. It doesn't matter who you're playing. I'm throwing my dart into the middle. Title contender. Give me Florida State as a title contender this year.
A perfect
I believe
bullseye
in Castellanos.
well.
I believe in Mike Norvell. I believe in the Noles. They have to play Miami and Clemson, 2 tough teams. I definitely think they can beat Clemson. I certainly think their defense is high octane enough to beat Miami. I see it.
And without cannibalizing the ACC has been over the past couple of seasons, I totally see a world where even if you lose a couple of games in conference, you can still make the ACC championship. We proved it last year.
Well, those are very interesting projections. If I'm wrong, you're going to have to tell me about it. Coming up next, we have our play of the week and our final words when we return on No Poll.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Can't get rid of us yet. Just a little more time with Hudson, Ridley, and Max Gifford here on No Pulp. Time for our plays of the weekend. Hudson, I know you've heard of the butt fumble, right?
Oh, yes.
But have you heard of the butt pick?
Whoa.
I know as a Bears fan you've heard of the double doink. Watch this. 1 bounce, 2 bounce, and a pick. Oh my goodness.
Did he?
Ricardo Jones.
Pin that?
You want to talk about saved by the cake. Ashton Hampton goes up for the pass breakup. It bounces off his behind, and he still gets the football. I mean, unbelievable way to get that interception, almost pinballing off 2 players, but the first one off the hiney of Ashton Hampton.
I got to say, that's pretty impressive. I would argue, though, my play is just a little bit more impressive. Jacoby Lane of USC, lofted ball towards the end zone, boop, one hand snag, shakes off the defender, doesn't even put a second hand on that. I mean, that, for me, that's just embarrassing. Watch number 12. He gets pushed off, he's laying on the ground, he's looking upwards saying, what am I doing with my life? This is embarrassing. We're getting paid all this money by USC to come out. I lose like this. This is really embarrassing. I would feel bad if I was that guy. I would feel real good if I was Jacoby Lane and I did that.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of the movie Little Giants. Someone's got to check those gloves to make sure there's no stickum on those. But there are more to college athletics than just points on a scoreboard or the highlights we show you every week here on No Pulp. Sometimes we're drawn to sports because of what we see, or in this case, hear. Off the field, look no further than Kent Broussard, who since he was 13 had one dream, to play at Tiger Stadium in Death Valley, but not as a player, instead as a member of the Golden Band from Tigerland. Life led Kent in a different direction early on, so he never ended up attending LSU, and he spent his career as an accountant. Broussard is now 66, retired, a husband and a father, but he's never let go of his original goal he set back in 1968. To play in the band down in Baton Rouge. So for the past 5 years, Kent spent hours learning to read music again and playing outside on his porch. That included tireless weeks of running and lifting weights. He even went as far to carry the band's sheet music around Japan while on a family trip. All of that hard work led to this past Saturday, where after a rigorous audition process, Broussard became the oldest member of the LSU marching band, and he got to play his sousaphone at Tiger Stadium. So whether you're 26 or 66, Ken is a reminder to all of us that dreams don't age. We do, but that doesn't mean you ever have to stop chasing them.
Well, Max, for my final word, by the way, very powerful. I'm always a big band guy. My final word has to do on the coaching side. Before the start of the season, Michigan head coach Sherrone Moore learned that he would be suspended for weeks 3 and 4 of the college football season. So who does Michigan turn to? Well, Moore is away. The most interesting man in college football, Biff Poggi. This has been a long time coming for the 65-year-old Poggi. The 2025 season is his 3rd stint in Ann Arbor. In 2021, he was the Wolverines' assistant head coach before leaving for the job at Charlotte. In 2015, he served as a stats analyst before move to high school. But that's where Poggi's been the most comfortable. For nearly 30 years, he coached at the Gilman School and later St. Francis Academy, both of those in Baltimore. In that span, he became like a father to those kids that he coached, funding over 60 scholarships for players who couldn't afford school. You might be thinking, how could Biff afford that on a high school coaching salary? Well, in 1986, while working as a high school history teacher, Poggi borrowed $25,000 from his father-in-law. He used it to start a hedge fund. And with very little experience, he became a millionaire. Seriously, the guy wearing the cut-off sleeved hoodies, he became a millionaire doing that. Over the past 3 decades, Poggi poured millions of his own money into his students' education and facilities, all away from the spotlight. Now for these next 2 weeks of college football, his name gets to shine. No one deserves it more than college football's most interesting man, Biff Poggi.
And I think if a lot of people heard our conversation to start the show about Sherrone Moore, maybe we think Biff Poggi should be the man leading the charge for the Michigan Wolverines. But both powerful stuff from us to end this episode of No Pulp.
I know. What I will say for Biff Poggi, he was the head coach at Charlotte for a little bit of time. I think he won 6 games in 3 years. So maybe he's not the man, but he's a great guy. That's all I have to say. He is a great guy, maybe less of a good coach, but he turned some high school teams into powerhouses.
You also mentioned that you were a band kid. What did you play in the band?
I was a trumpet player. Weren't you also a trumpet player?
I was also a trumpet player.
I was embarrassed of being in the band. Were you embarrassed?
What?
Of being in the band. Were you embarrassed?
No, never embarrassed. I'm a band kid and I'm proud.
Wow, that's an interesting thing to say.
All right, well, two trumpet players have to say goodbye for now. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of No Pulp. For Hudson Ridley, I'm Max Gifford. We'll talk to you next time.